It's Mr. Bentley here, carrying on with your Normans lessons. We're going to move on to arguably one of the biggest battles ever in British history today. So today's title is on screen now for you. Why did the Normans win the Battle of Hastings? So first job for us today is a bit of a recall or a recap. And basically what we'd like you to do is to look at the battles of Fulford Gate and Stamford Bridge that Mr. Salway talked you through last week. And basically, what can you remember about those two battles? As a challenge, should come up, there we go. Why were these battles important in the kind of the grand scheme of our Normans topic? So if you want to pause the video at this point and have a go at that task for me, please. So the objective or the point of today's lesson is to judge how and why William the Conqueror was able to win the Battle of Hastings. So that's our job for today. So the focus for this lesson, we're really kind of zooming in on the latter part of 1066 now. So as you can see on screen, we've got a bit of a timeline of events of 1066, and we are really zooming in on that end part. So William landing in Pevensey, King Harold arriving back in London after going up north to fight at Stamford Bridge, King Harold leaving London very quickly after arriving, and then on to the Battle of Hastings. And hopefully, as you already know, William of Normandy was going to be the next person to challenge King Harold's throne. William didn't invade straight away, and that really, we don't think as historians, was on purpose. We believe that he wanted to invade straight away, but the winds on the English Channel prevented him from doing so. However, William did use that time wisely whilst in France to get himself extra prepared for the battle. Okay, and as we already know from Mr. Salway's lesson last week, King Harold had been up north fighting off and successfully beating the Viking invasion up there. So that sets the scene for the Battle of Hastings. So what we would like you to do, we have another BBC Teach video for you to watch, which gives you an overview of the Battle of Hastings. You can see the hyperlink on screen now. All right, we've sent you that separately as part of our Teams or email work that we've set you. So can you copy and paste that hyperlink into Google and have a look at that for us on the internet, please. Okay. As you're watching, if you feel there are any important aspects or part of the video, do make some notes, as they will be useful going forward. All right. Again, pause the video at this point, get that hyperlink, and go and watch that hyperlink for us, please. So, after watching the video and using your knowledge from the previous lessons, particularly the one Mr. Salway did last week, I would like you to create an overview of the events of 1066. Now, you've got some of the key places that were important during 1066 on this little map of England here. So I've got Stamford Bridge, London, Hastings, and Pevensey. What we would like you to do in a second is to add as much detail as possible, either on your map or underneath your map that you've been given as a separate document, and basically chart what happened during 1066, either on your map or underneath. So, for example, you might want to draw a line from London to Stamford Bridge, and then next to that line explain that Harold Godwinson had to travel from London to Stamford Bridge to defeat Harold Hardrada and the Vikings, as an example. Okay, so see if you can add as much detail as possible either onto this map by printing it off and writing on it yourself, or adding text box with information in them, or if you wish, underneath the map that you have been given a copy of, you can maybe bullet point list in order what happened. Okay, if you want to pause the video at this point and have a go at that task for us, please. Right, this is hopefully what your map might look like, and if it doesn't, I would suggest adding a little bit more detail to it. Okay, so we've got all the details about Stamford Bridge, the Vikings invading, Harold going up to meet them, Harold coming back to London after winning a victory at Stamford Bridge, and then some detail about what happened on the south coast with William arriving in Pevensey, and then the Battle of Hastings between William and Harold. Okay, so that's what your map should look like. If it doesn't, maybe just spend a bit of time now, pause the video, and add a little bit of detail to your map or to your bullet point list that you have. Okay, right, so we've had the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Harold has returned to London. He has then left London and marched towards Hastings in order to meet William in battle. So how prepared were Harold Godwinson's Anglo Saxons? So a bit of information for you. Some of the weapons that they had: javelins, long axes, swords and longbows. The housecarls, who were the trained knights, they were trained to wield their axes with such force that a well-directed blow or hit could decapitate a horse, so could take the head clean off a horse. That's how skilled they were with their axes. Shields that they had were usually round. They would be wooden with a central metal boss, which you can see partially on the video. And that little central metal boss could often be used to kind of attack people, as well as using the shield to defend themselves. So housecarls would form a shield wall with the troops 2 or 3 lines thick going backwards. Housecarls also practice making a gap in the wall for the axemen behind them to strike, and then to close the wall off again to protect themselves and the axemen. Now, the armour that they had was chainmail or metal plates sewn into leather. They had a conical helmet, which is a bit like what the man in the middle is wearing there, with a nose piece to cover the nose. This was very similar to the armour that the Normans would wear. And usually the armour was the preserve of the housecarls, who had elite skills with the shield wall, as we mentioned, their ability to wield and use their axes, lots of discipline and endurance. They were very kind of well-practiced fighters. Harold's housecarls were considered to be amongst the elite foot soldiers of Europe. They would fight to the death to defend their king. Now, the other side, the Normans, under William of Normandy at this moment in time, not William the Conqueror, the weapons that they had lances, javelins, swords, and maces. They also included crossbows and longbows that were used much more readily than were on the Anglo-Saxon or Harold's side. They also used horses in battle that had been especially bred to be strong enough to carry an armoured knight and were trained for battle as well. Now, William had to bring his war horses across the channel, so you can imagine the transportation of horses across taking quite some effort, showing how much he wanted them to be there. Armour, as we've said, very similar to the Anglo-Saxons, chainmail, conical helmet with a little nose piece on it. We've got the saddle. Those of you who have ever done any horse riding will know this is vital. The knight's saddles held them tightly in place on the horse, so they could use their arms freely in order to swing their swords, etc. Elite skills, years of training and fighting on horseback. Right? They also learned a lot of special manoeuvres and tricks that would come into the fore during the Battle of Hastings. Their shields were slightly different. They were kite-shaped, and that is obviously, as you can see, with the man in the middle of the screen to protect his kind of left-hand side and his leg and the horse's kind of side as well. So, you have a copy of, I'm just going to show this to you. You've got a copy of this on your Word or PDF document as well. What we would like you to do is to colour in which side you think has the best chance of winning by reading the information. Okay, so I'd like you to take each individual row. So, for example, the type and size of army. Are you going to say that King Harold in the left-hand column is going to be more likely to win? Or are you going to say the right-hand side column where Duke William is? Who, if reading that information, do you think would be more likely to win the battle? And you do that for each row. So it might be that you pick Harold for one, and then Duke William for the other, and then Duke William again and Harold for the other one. Work your way through the table and just colour in the box for which person out of the two leaders you think would be most likely to win on each row. If you want to pause the video at this point so you can have a go at that task for us, and then I'll tell you what we're doing after that. Right, looking back at your table now, hopefully you will have one side or the other who you think are more prepared for the battle. So just have a look back over your table. Which side have you coloured in the most? Is it the Anglo-Saxon side with Harold Godwinson, or is it the Norman side with Duke William? And basically what we'd like you to do is just to write as a little mini paragraph explaining why you think either the Normans were more prepared or the Anglo-Saxons were more prepared. Again, if you want to pause the video at this point, use the table to explain why you think the Normans or the Anglo-Saxons were more prepared. So, summing up our learning for today. You've seen this obviously before in lessons, so we'd like you to pick one of the tasks below and basically sum up what you've learned about the Battle of Hastings. So you've got your good, great, or excellent historian. I'm not going to read the tasks to you. I want you to read through them and decide which one you're going to do. All right. So again, pause the video, spend 3 or 4 minutes answering your good, great, or excellent historian task, please. So, little exit ticket for us to finish up on. Why did the Normans win the Battle of Hastings? Now, we have got on screen 5 reasons why the Normans would win the Battle of Hastings. First one, because he being William, was a brilliant and skillful leader. Would you say that is the most important reason why the Normans won the battle? Or reason 2, it could be because Harold was a poor soldier who made a lot of mistakes. It could be, thirdly, that the Normans were better equipped and better prepared due to those changing winds, and the Normans being able to spend time getting prepared. Or could it be because Harold was unlucky? He had to deal with 2 invasions within a month of each other, which would suggest that he was particularly unlucky. Or are there other reasons? What we would like you to do is to sum up your response in no more than 2 sentences. So you have 2 sentences to explain which of those reasons above are the most important for the Normans winning the Battle of Hastings. Okay, so if you pause the video again, 2 sentences, I reckon 2 minutes for that is plenty of time. Off you go. Last but not least, Facebook reaction to today's lesson. You can pick any of those. Maybe you want to draw the reaction on your paper and explain your choice in the boxes below. Okay, and that is it for today's lesson, Year 9. Thank you for listening. Have a great week, and hopefully we'll see you soon.